Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as we talk about balloon flowers. So let's go. Up along my driveway on the right-hand side is what I call my plant nursery. This plant nursery has two purposes. Number one, it's a place for me to keep plants that I've either divided from my yard, winter sown using the winter sowing process, or plants that I've just bought from either local businesses or other backyard plant nurseries. This is also a place where I sell plants out of my driveway. Well, today's video is going to focus on shopping my plant nursery for plants that I winter sowed and that have been sitting here for a year or two. They are the balloon flower. They are so pretty, and I noticed the other day they were blooming. I want to remove them from the plant nursery and I want to get them planted in my landscape. So the first thing we're going to do today is shop my nursery. Just like in my flower beds, there's a lot of work to be done in my plant nursery. Part of that is weeding and continuing to make sales. But the other day I noticed right there a beautiful purple flower that I want to add to my garden space. And this beautiful flower is balloon flower. It was blooming and I said, I can't let it just bloom and go by and then get lost inside of my nursery. The biggest reason why I grew this was to have this in my own yard. In fact, I don't have balloon flower anywhere else in my yard, and I thought this would look so pretty to tuck into certain spots in my garden. So let's start with grabbing these balloon flowers. I'm not sure how many are here, but there are at least a few, and then I'll show you what's next. Here's a close-up of what this beautiful balloon flower looks like as it's blooming right now. It is just so gorgeous. I mentioned earlier that all of these flowers were winter sown. If you've never heard of what winter sowing is, I'll put a link to a playlist that I have that goes over the full process. And I've had a lot of success with it, especially when it comes to perennials, because many perennials need a cold period in order for those seeds to germinate. And balloon flower happens to be one of them. You can definitely take balloon flower seeds and put them in your fridge or freezer and give them that cold treatment that they need. For me, it's just so much easier to winter sow the seeds. I set them and I forget them. When it comes to perennials, many perennials take about 2 years before you even see a bloom from them. And I know that can be a little disappointing, but I think it's worth it. But I wanted to mention that's a big reason why that when I winter sow my seeds and the plants emerge, I oftentimes will pot up those plants and I'll put them down in my plant nursery because I'm usually not going to see a bloom from them until the following season. Well, all of these are now budded up and I want to enjoy them in my own garden space. So what we're going to do is I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what balloon flower is while I'm cleaning up the plants. Balloon flowers are hardy here where I live in New Hampshire Zone 5B. You'll find them in lots of different colors, ranging from purple to pink and even white. There are taller varieties as well as dwarf varieties. And in case you're wondering where did it get its name from, the buds on a balloon flower resemble what look like little balloons. A lot of times kids, well even adults, like to come along and pop those little balloons. I try to refrain myself from doing that because I really want them to open up naturally, but that's just a fun little fact to know. I mentioned that you can have shorter varieties as well as taller varieties, but generally speaking, balloon flowers range from about 12 to 24 inches in height. They thrive in full sun, which is 6 hours of sunlight per day, but they can also do fine in part sun or even part shade conditions, but you might get less blooms. The plants thrive in moist, alkaline, well-draining soil. In terms of bloom time, they usually bloom during the early summer months, and if you keep them deadheaded, they'll bloom for you throughout the whole summer, meaning early, mid, as well as late summer. It's a very easy plant to propagate from seed. And I've made videos showing my process for collecting the seeds from the plant. And I've also successfully divided this plant. It does have a taproot. You just want to be a little careful, but it's totally possible to divide this plant. And I've also made videos showing how to divide it. I'll put links to those videos down in the description below. The plants attract different pollinators, including butterflies, and even it attracts the birds. So what will be fun with these plants in my garden is I don't know which ones are which. I don't know which ones are white. Some of them are purple, some are taller, some are shorter. So we're just going to be planting them in an area that gets part sun. And we're going to see how they do this year. We may have to move them next year, but my goal for this year was to get them planted out in my landscape. I want to enjoy the blooms. So we're going to be planting them a little bit more towards the front or middle of a long border. And then over time, if we want to, we can always take the plants, divide them, and move them around to other sunny areas of my yard. Something I've learned with a lot of plants, especially these type of plants that tend to have a taproot, is you don't want to keep them in their pots or their containers for too long. You definitely want to get them planted out in your landscape. I used to have this plant in my landscape years ago, and one thing that I noticed is if you do allow the plant to go to seed, what will happen is you will get freebie plants, just like many other plants that you allow to go to seed. The big thing is knowing what the seedlings look like, being able to identify them so that when you are weeding your flower beds, you're not weeding out the bloom flower seedlings. Now that we've weeded out all of these plants, I'm going to get them placed out in the landscape, and then I'm going to show you where they're going to go, and we're going to get one planted together. For this year, this will be an experiment. We're just going to get these planted in the ground, and then if I find over time that some of these bloom flowers are actually much taller, they're going to get moved towards the middle or the back of this space. But right now, they're very small, they're very short, so it doesn't make sense for me to plant them back there. I want to enjoy their blooms. And for a planting depth, I'm just going to plant them as deep as they are in the pot. The roots are coming out from the bottom of the pot, so they are ready to be planted out. And for this year, I am just planting all of the balloon flower in one garden space. I want to just get them in the ground so that they can establish themselves. My goal is to eventually divide them and move them around the yard. I want to collect their seeds. I love this plant a lot, and I want to have a lot more of it in my landscape. You'll notice the root system is not too bad, so we can go ahead and get that planted. And I'm just going to go ahead and backfill. And I can't wait to show you in the next garden tour what this looks like when it's blooming. We just planted this balloon flower here. I have just placed the balloon flowers in different places of the garden, like I placed one right there. And I'm going to go ahead and get them planted, and I'm going to show you what they all look like after they're in the landscape. So we didn't go very far. The plant nursery is located down there, and right next to it is what I call the long border. And this area gets quite a bit of sun. Before I start showing you where I planted everything, I just want to mention when it comes to balloon flower, they may end up getting taller than where I placed them. But since many of the plants that we put in today were on the shorter side, I put many of them towards the front of this bed, knowing very well that I might have to move them. But I just want to enjoy their blooms this year, and that's my reasoning for putting them towards the front. Also, I'm not sure if any of these balloon flowers are the dwarf variety. I don't think they are, but you just never know. So that's the reasoning for why I placed them where I placed them. And one of my goals is to get the plants going and established so that I can then take from them and move them to other areas of my yard. So we're going to start with this side of the bed. There are a lot of beautiful plants in here, but I'm going to bring you down closer, and right behind the spotted plant here, which is called lungwort or pulmonaria, I placed one balloon flower there, and I tried to basically tuck them in wherever I saw that there were small little gaps or pockets. I placed another one towards the front here, and then this one just had a taller stature to it, so I placed it towards the middle here. And you can imagine they're just going to look really pretty adding those additional pops of color, be it purple or white. As we make our way down the bed, I placed another one down here. And I just can't tell you how happy I am getting this job done. It doesn't matter if you buy a perennial, buy an annual, or it's one that you divided or started from seed. Anytime you add them to different parts of your yard, it's always exciting. We have another one right here. And then right nearby, this one was a little shorter, so I placed it right there. And I tried to do it so that I have little pops throughout the flower bed, just in case they're different colors. And if they're all either purple or white, because I don't think I have any pink, that's totally fine. I placed one back over here. Here's the one that we planted together. And there's the nice little purple one that's blooming close by. I had actually found one more down in my plant nursery, so I was very happy to get that added today. And we have one placed over here. Then I was kind of running out of room. I know I could have added more in this space, but I figured I'm just going to tuck some in over here, just to get them tucked in. So we have one placed over in here, and then the final one is hidden, but right in here. I do want to mention that these areas do get water because they're on drip irrigation. So the plants should be very happy between the amount of water they're going to get and the amount of sun that they're going to get. I think just by adding that balloon flower, no matter what color it is really going to add a nice pop of color and interest in the long border. Please let me know in the comments if you have balloon flower in your yard, and if so, where do you have it? Do you have it towards the front, middle, or the back of a border? And what color is it? If you have a variety name, please share that as well. If you have any questions or comments, please drop them down below. And until the next video, make it a great day with gardening.